You know, it never fails to amaze me how often this said group of people seems to stick a foot in their own mouth. They say one thing but really mean another. But anyways, hello again YouTube, Brown and Beige community here again. And today we have two topics that we're about to discuss today. Particularly Kwame Brown's viral colorist rant and DJ Envy getting a lot of flack for some controversial statement of a young black woman that was killed by the police. But anyways, let's get started. I'll tell you, does the madness ever end in regards to this topic? It seems as though no matter how many times we visit this topic or how many times people state the obvious, we still find ourselves in this near spinning circle of what we call colorism. And today we got a very interesting one to talk about, because in regards to this situation, for all the people who, all my non-basketball fans out there, Kwame Brown is a former first-round pick. And in the NBA world, most first overall picks in the NBA draft are pretty much supposed to be the cornerstones of that team's franchise and the core, who are basically supposed to be at least fringe, if not Hall of Fame players at best. And Kwame Brown has been known as probably one of the worstest picks of all time. One of the worstest, if not the worst, first overall pick in NBA history. And he has gotten a lot of flack in the social media world and NBA world for this. And he basically, Matt Barnes was basically one of the guys who basically was speaking out about him. And he didn't take too kindly of it. And he basically said a lot of eye-opening things in his little, compilation of colorist statements that he made. And I'm sure a lot of the light-skinned men, particularly the older ones, this probably hits really close to him. And this basically is a prime example of what the Wakandians basically try to say doesn't exist. They try to make it out as if we're complaining, we're crying, and we're just mad because we don't get women, so they say. But we're about to I'm about to put my 2 cents in about what he said in his very eye-opening statements. And we're just going to take a quick look and analyze what he said, because he said a lot of thought-provoking things. And I'm sure a lot of people in this space, this is definitely going to hit close to home. But anyways, let's get into it.
I don't know that nigga Matt Barnes, but you could just look at his character and tell, like, we used to torture light-skinned niggas like that. You know it. We used to torture niggas that wanted to be down and act black, make them crash dummies. He was a victim. That's why he's so angry.
Now, notice what he said. We used to torture light-skinned niggas like that. Now, this is interesting for a lot of reasons, because there is a very popular talking point in regards to the topic light-skinned men that light-skin was in the 80s. And I'm sure I brought this up countless times. And a lot of people try to say that, it didn't exist and we were the height of everything and all that. But what a lot of people seem to forget is, because of this, there was a lot of hatred and jealousy from a lot of dark-skinned men, particularly of that demographic and that age group. And I'm sure a lot of older light-skinned men probably have countless stories of torture that they have had at expense of dark-skinned men. And the irony in this whole thing is they just want us to forget that this happened. Because in today's society, let's be honest, I don't think there is no group of men that's more coddled in the black community than, they are, dark skin. And if a light-skinned man even did anything remotely close to what they supposedly did, we would get called every hater. I mean, they get mad even if we express the obvious of how it seems like they're just a blatant bias towards them. They say that, oh, you're hating and all this, blah, blah, blah. But he said it. We used to torture niggas like that back in the day. Remember, he said back in the day. But that's not even the most interesting thing. What he said towards the end was very eye-opening. Make them crash dummies. And I'll give it to him. I don't think I could have thought of a better analogy for the role that light-skinned men are basically basically have been in the black community basically since this whole thing started. That's basically what our role has been. Crash dummies. Going hard in the paint, lobbying for them, and basically having to take all the collateral damage of that head on. And at the end of the day, what has it really gotten us? It's not like they respect us anymore than they did. That's basically what we have been at all this time. Crash dummies. I mean, he's basically summed it up perfectly. That's basically what light-skinned men have been this entire time for the black community. A crash dummy.
Bitch ass DJ Envy. He wanna the fuck you talking about, nigga? You a light skinned bitch too.
Notice how he goes out of the way to bring up their skin color. Now, let's be honest. Let's just call it like it is. And I know this is probably going to trigger some of my trolls because they're the main ones who make this talking point. A lot of people say that at the end of the day we're all the same, but in reality, that's half true. At the end of the day, regardless of how much you try to identify, if you say or do anything that doesn't line up with their agenda, they're going to be the first to point out that, oh, well, we may identify the same, but at the end of the day, you still have so-and-so features, and I'm still like this. And that is basically the truth of the situation. You guys can be as down as you want to be, but at the end of the day, nothing's going to change your phenotype. And yeah, you guys can get along. We can get along just fine. But at the end of it all, if you say anything that doesn't agree with the agenda of the so-called Afro community, oh, they're going to bring it up. That is the first thing that's going to come out of their mouth. And Kwame Brown basically said it. And we're about to talk about DJ Envy soon in a bit. But let's see what else he had to say.
I would have tore that finger wave up, though. I would have just drugged you around. I really wouldn't have punched you like that. I would have just drugged that. I would have just fucked that finger wave up on some dark skin hating shit. I ain't gonna lie. Motherfucking Bruno Mars haircut. My darkness would have came out from all the years of being picked on from being dark. And you're right. I probably would have took out that toxic dark masculinity on your finger wave.
Wow. Now that's an earful right there. Now, basically, he's just talking about some light-skinned man's hair texture. And, this is the irony in this whole thing is these are the guys who will be the first to say Now, let's be honest. A lot of people with that particular hair texture are usually either Afro-Latino, Spanish, or mixed of some sort. These would be the first guys that would be ready to throw them into the black community because you guys are black like us. You're just Spanish-speaking black folks, as they say. But then turn around and do this. So on one hand, you say that you want them to be part of the community, but then if they earn something that you feel you should have, then all these little isms come out. Ism. Colorism. Featureism. All these different isms, different hair textures, varying phenotypes. And truth be told, this is one of the reasons why people like Kwame Brown exist. You heard what he said. All the years of getting picked on for being dark. This is basically what you get. When you have all of these different phenotypes, hair textures, and features all thrown into these different families, there's some families that treat certain features better. And this is where you get people like Kwame Brown. And you know what? It just all goes back to the one drop rule and why it needs to be gone. Because I know a lot of dark skinned people will be the first to say, oh, well, at the end of the day, if the cops pull you over, you're still seen as black. Okay, if that's true, then what are you guys complaining about then? If that's true, then all this little privilege talk you guys talk about is nonsense then. Because it can't be both ways. Either you're privileged or you're not. And this is where they never seem to be able to answer that question. It always just goes down to, well, it's a thing. You have to acknowledge it. But they never go into details about it. And this is why this will be a never-ending cycle that will just continue and continue to be in mainstream like it is now. Social media is doing nothing but providing a voice to issues that we've already known all our lives.
Nigga, you can part my daughter hair and do that little comb over you had today, nigga. That shit was fly. I told you what we used to do to niggas like you back in the day, boy.
You can't help but listening to this and just, when you look outside and just think about the very vast majorities of black couples you see, which couple would you say you see the most? Okay, I'll just summarize it for you. Dark-skinned males and light-skinned females. So when you hear these same dark-skinned males say stuff like this, it just really makes you just wonder, what is the basis of this? Because they say stuff like this, but then in the same time are with women who basically create the same men that they complain about. What sense does that make? You say you're basically in competition with the men of the same phenotype of the woman that you want. And this is something that we see quite often, particularly with these particular group of men. They hate the men but love the women. But what they don't realize is if you have your offspring with these women, you basically create what you don't like. Why does that not resonate with you guys? If you hate it that much, why do you keep procreating with women that's going to create that phenotype? I am sorry, but you cannot keep making excuses for this. Oh, well, it's self-hate. Okay, well, how long are we going to keep using that excuse? We've been saying self-hate practically for years upon generations. I think it's time that these guys just need to accept the fact that they basically want to be what they're not. And the irony is, these guys talk all this stuff about light-skinned men, but love light-skinned women. And unfortunately, light-skinned men have basically just thrown in their white flag. Like, these guys are just going to keep saying and keep doing this stuff. Oh, you think the community is going to say nothing against these guys? Oh, no, of course not. They're not going to say anything. They're just going to keep repeating and repeating the same thing over and over again. It's not going to change. We might as well just accept it. It's not.
And I was going to show you. I'm a damn sure going to relive my childhood on your ass. I told you, you might be thinking I'm playing. We used to do light-skinned niggas like you, dirty boy. Call it color, real, call it whatever the fuck you want, nigga. We might have been a little jealous, but nigga, you got done dirty, nigga. Fuck you talking about. And every dark-skinned nigga know what I'm talking about. Nigga, used to A-town stump niggas like you, boy. I told you, Al.
Now, I kind of alluded to this topic on my last stream. Notice how he keeps bringing up his childhood. Now, this is where this whole conversation really gets confusing. When you got people like Kwame Brown that's practically 40 or 50 years old still remembering stuff about their childhood, how in the same breath can these same people tell light-skinned men of today that we shouldn't have any issue with the way we get stereotyped as weak, effeminate, and all this? They say, well, it's not real, and y'all still get women. But then you, at the same time, you got people like Kwame Brown and all these other dark-skinned men and women that still remember something from their childhood telling you this. What sense does that make? It's pretty obvious that these people have issues going all the way back to their childhood, but will be the same ones that tell us that we shouldn't feel some type of way for being stereotyped, and will come up with a whole dictionary of excuses why. Excuses with no basis to them, just basically a bunch of fake statistics that can be manipulated by almost anybody. The facts are the facts.
Gonna do to you. Any nigga with a finger wave, I'd have remembered my childhood, and I would have turned it to a hater. I'd have just fucked that finger wave up. I would have had your ass up under that car, boy. A light-skinned nigga like you with slick ass hair should be acting like Drake and taking niggas' girls. But no, you getting your girl too, cause you wanna be a thug. What kind of nigga are you, boy? Oh, I forgot. You one of them mixed, confused niggas.
One of those mixed, confused niggas. That's very interesting, because these guys are always trying to say, well, you're still black like us. But once again, that whole confused word always seems to come up. And the reality of it is, they're the ones that's confused. They really don't know whether they want mixed people to be black or not. They only want them to be black when it benefits them. Let's just be honest.
I forgot. You niggas always gotta join the call. I wanna be down for what you know is true. You niggas light-skinned motherfucker always wanna be down.
As much as I knock Kwame Brown, I have to agree with him on this. He's right. He really is right. A lot of light-skinned people are just... I know where the basis of it is, but you guys are just not seeing reality here. No, and I said it before. No matter how hard you try to cape, no matter how pro-black you try to act, at the end of the day, you are still the light-skinned, privileged white person. The white black person, if that makes any sense. This is how they will always view you. All this civil rights stuff has done nothing. They are still have the platform. We still have all these colorism channels from all these dark-skinned women that get thousands upon thousands, maybe if not millions of views, talking about how light-skinned women are this and that. And their channels are still up. Thousands upon thousands of likes. Barely any dislikes, and the usual SJW comments of, well, we're all the same, seem to mysteriously disappear on those channels. But those same people seem to come to mine and talk about how I'm wrong for what I say. But I gotta agree with him on this one. Always want to be down. Light-skinned people are the ones that shout to the mountaintops to the highest degree about, oh, black this, black that. But then these same people view you like this. I want to be down for what I know is true.
Not all of you, some of you motherfuckers. Always want to be down, always got to be proving something. Punk motherfucker, you wasn't black enough and you wasn't white enough. You stuck in the middle. Stuck in the middle, yeah, yeah.
You gotta love how they always love to throw that out there. You're stuck in the middle. Yeah, yeah. And really, this kind of falls on biracial people. Because you guys are always talking about, well, I guess we might as well just, well, at the end, they pretty much view us all the same anyway. This is what it all boils down to. Stuck in the middle. And he said it best. Trying to be in spaces where you're not wanted. That's basically what our struggle is here. And for some reason, we just can't seem to get that. At the end of the day, neither side is really going to fully accept us. They're not. And we just aren't being in accordance with reality here. At the end of the day, you don't have their features. You don't have their phenotype. They just use us for whatever they can get out of us, and then they toss us to the side. It's been that way since the beginning of time. And still is to this very day. And we still just cannot seem to grasp this basic principle. Stuck in the middle.
Told you nigga about fucking with me, boy. And the more you keep running your mouth, Rico Suave, the more I'ma fuck with you, Becky with the good hair.
What does that even mean? Becky with the good hair. You know, I would not be surprised one bit if Kwame Brown probably secretly has white girlfriends on the side. Because from what I've noticed, a lot of guys like this who usually shout to the mountaintops the highest about light-skinned men usually have mixed women or white women on their arms. Prime example, Kanye West. Kobe Bryant, as much as I hate to have to bring him up, rest in peace, the legend, the Mamba, but he was the same way. He was talking about light-skinned men, but has a whole family of half black, half Mexican daughters. And I'm sure there are countless other examples. Well, our favorite one, the baby, the one who famously told us to stay in our lane, who has now got Danny Lay pregnant. And you know, this is the kind of thing that fires me up inside the most. And it just really just goes to show you what the community basically fights to uphold. When channels like mine come and say, you know what, enough. We've had enough of this. We can't keep dealing with these situational ethics of our identity. They try to tell me that I'm wrong and all this. This is basically what they want you to do. Turn a blind eye and be silent to stuff like this. This is basically what they fight for. They want this dynamic to stay alive. This basically is what they fight, try to silence me from speaking out against. Me and other channels like me. And it just goes to show you how dysfunctional they are. They see nothing wrong with this dynamic that's happening here. In fact, they fight to uphold it. And you want another reason why? It's very simple. Because dysfunction is all they know. It's all they've ever known. They don't want it to be fixed. They want to live in it, wallow in it. Their identity is within it.
Yeah, they tried to use that little light-skinned nigga so he could use his good skin on me. But that shit don't work. He ain't one of them light-skinned niggas like Drake. He one of them fake tough light-skinned niggas. You should have been a smooth nigga just getting pussy. But no, you one of them angry bird light-skinned niggas.
Hey, Kwame, maybe you should have used your dark-skinned masculinity to be a better basketball player. Because obviously you ain't one of them dark ones. You're the one that's basically crying about being dark. You're not using your darkness. Well, you didn't use your darkness to be a good basketball player. You should have been like LeBron. But no, you're one of those crybaby dark-skinned dudes that basically cries about how he's being dark. Maybe you should have channeled that dark-skinned masculinity and been a better basketball player.
But boy, I'm one of them dog niggas. I'm one of them dog niggas. One of them geeky niggas, that'll get you to shut your goddamn mouth. And I think I just proved that. Mama's cooking, nigga.
Well, you sure didn't shut the other thousands upon millions of people of other races that called you a bust, that basically have made a joke out of you. You sure didn't shut them up. At the end of the day, you're still one of the worstest number one overall picks in NBA history. So I guess you didn't channel your dark-skinned masculinity enough. You should have been like Michael Jordan. But on a side note, the fact that there's probably a lot of people that are already getting ready to make excuses for what he's done. But the fact that he went out of his way to say all this stuff basically proves how he really feels. Because there's thousands upon thousands of other groups of people that have talked about Kwame Brown. But you see him coming for them? No. He's attacking Matt Barnes. And has basically went on rants upon rants about him being light-skinned and all this. And this just basically proves more and more what I've been saying this entire time. And it continues to show itself every day and gets more and more obvious. Kwame Brown is and you just can't get over the fact that how many people are supporting and patting Kwame Brown on the back for this. Because they are the same way. They just aren't. Either they're not outspoken enough to say it like Kwame Brown is. But even in the supposed black manosphere, when they do talk about light-skinned males and dark-skinned males, it usually always goes back to the same thing. Oh, they still get women. But then it goes back to the way they view light-skinned males in the 80s, as they say. It's just an endless cycle of nothing. The same thing over and over again. Who is going to draw a line in the sand with this? But anyways, this was basically, I was asked to basically speak on this whole situation with DJ Envy and the community over this whole Ma'Khia Bryant situation. And I know I'm late with this, but bear with me. So basically, DJ Envy has been getting a lot of flack from the black community for his topics of talking points about Ma'Khia Bryant. And it's very interesting when you hear what he says, because from my perspective of looking at the video, you can clearly see that this girl in pink, this girl basically had her pinned up against the car, was in the knife stabbing motion, and obviously by the trajectory of the knife was getting ready to stab her in a very vital organ. But we have these people now that are basically talking about how she shouldn't have been shot. Now, arguably, how many times they shot her was a little overkill, which I guess we can all agree on that. But what did DJ Envy say that garners all this bad attention? What he said was basically right. And it's funny how in these situations, everybody is an expert on what cops should do, but yet none of them are cops. And if you look at the video, you can clearly see that there's a whole bunch of people that's standing there. If they felt that way, why would they call the cops anyway? There's just a bunch of people just standing there that didn't de-escalate the situation. How come nobody ever comments about what they should have done? But that's a little off topic. What's funny is the whole flack that DJ Envy is getting. And I got this comment highlighted up here because I usually have a slideshow of comments for this one, but I think this one just speaks the most. Now, I'm probably not going to play the video because knowing how YouTube is, they probably take it down for copyright, and I can't afford to get copyrighted right now. So if you want the real video, the link is in the description. But basically, Dr. Omar Johnson was basically talking about how she shouldn't have been killed and all the typical talking points that you would expect. And DJ Envy there's hundreds of comments talking about how DJ Envy is a sellout, a coon, the usual talking points of when they don't agree with what you said. But it's very interesting how you look at, once again, the first thing that they bring up is his light skin, which brings back what I said before. If you're light-skinned and you say something that doesn't agree with the Wakandian mentality, that is the first thing they bring up. Well, that's just a typical talking point of light-skinned. They ain't like us, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, it just goes back. Unity to your own detriment. As long as you uphold their ideologies, you're okay. But if you step over your line, they tell you, quick, stay in your lane. And that's basically what we have with DJ Envy. He said some things that they didn't agree with, and he was getting pushback. And there are going to be a lot more situations like this. Even if you look in like political spaces, if you have like light-skinned people that fall more on the other side of the political game that varies differently from what the typical Wakandian falls under, that's the first thing they say. Light-skin, sellout, all those things. I have seen this far too often. And they If you don't have their mentality, they don't want you around. That's basically what we have here. And all these comments, all these videos continue to prove more and more what I'm saying. And they're going to continue. It's not going to stop. If anything, it might even get worse, because now that they have even more leverage with this whole movement that we got. I won't say it because you guys pretty much already know what movement I'm talking about. They're only going to get even more traction with this. All these little liberals that basically put the battery in their back are only going to make them worse. And you're going to have to be very careful what you say nowadays, especially if you're a light-skinned channel, because they're out here and they are most definitely got everything under wraps. The second we say anything, that YouTube picks up, we're as good as gone. But anyways, thanks for watching, everyone, and peace out.